Julian Morrow to Joe Visconti.
Metro North has new leadership, but again, they misjudged the number of commuters on Friday after the snowstorm. With the gate crossings that are causing safety concerns and increasing commuting times, derailments, collisions, what can be done to hold Metro North more accountable, or is there an alternate provider that can be brought in?
Well, if this was a construction project and you had a problem with the contractor, you'd have to get to the table with them. And we need to bring money, because we're not bringing money to the table. Before you think about another provider, have we exhausted all negotiations with them? Are we committed? Do we have the money? Do we have a plan? Of course, Tony and John will tell you they've been inside Transportation Department. There's many things that are happening in there. But really, as a governor, what is Governor Malloy doing? How about the legislature take a ride in Metro North and hold session on Metro North for a couple weeks? Will they find out what's wrong then? So it's time for the governor to be an adult, work with Metro North. The Democrat, Cuomo in New York is a Democrat governor. I see no reason why they can't put their heads together right now and make the changes that are necessary. This is safety. These are hazardous conditions. My children ride Metro North. I go down to Stanford sometimes to get my daughter rather than New Haven, because coming into New Haven, the rails are so bad all the way. So this has been ongoing, and the Democrats like to say we're doing something about it, or Governor Mueller likes to say it's the Metro North, it's them. It's not them. Get to the table. Get your people to the table. Be a leader, Governor Malloy. Do it now. There's still time left this year to start the negotiations, because we have 1 year to opt out of the contract. And so have you seen anything from reporters that talk about the details of negotiations? Open negotiations, Governor. Bring them to the Capitol. Sit down in an open, friendly atmosphere with the money and your complete one-party control of the state of Connecticut, and tell them what you want. Ask them publicly and let the public decide. Oh, they'll work with us. But the governor has to be a leader.
Senator McKinney, I'm sorry.
You know, Joe's right. Governor Malloy likes to act indignant and have press conferences, but that's not what we need from a governor. We need leadership from the governor. We need the governor sitting down with the leaders at Metro North and getting results for the state of Connecticut. And if we can't get results, we need to look at an alternate provider. But we also need to do our own, keep our own responsibilities. Every mass transportation system in the world that I know of is subsidized. Metro North riders have the least subsidy. That means they pay the highest share of their fare of anyone, and it's the most used rail line in America. And this governor just increased the rail fares. This is the economic engine of the state of Connecticut, and we haven't kept our end of the bargain. There are 4 rail bridges between New Haven and Greenwich that are over 100 years old that have failed their inspection, and Governor Malloy has zero plan to deal with it. We can criticize Metro North, but we also need to look inward and hold up our end of the bargain, and under this governor, we have not.
Senator Boucher.
Everyone in this room should be very concerned about what happens with Metro North, because you're paying 65% of all of the costs. As Senator McKinney said, this is one of the most important rail lines in the country, the most used rail line, 38 million rail trips a year. It affects our entire section of the state's economy, if not the tri-state economy, and it is in serious trouble. It's just not mechanical failures and infrastructure, because you could fix that. It's total gross mismanagement, no oversight, and people's lives have been lost. Our commuters no longer feel safe getting on a train, and it doesn't show up on time. In fact, so many have emailed me and said, you know, if they can't fix this and I can't get to work, I'm thinking about moving out of Connecticut. That's the last thing we need, is more people moving out of our state. And yes, this governor and this administration has not paid attention, has not kept their feet to the fire. That's why I had to implore and finally get the chairs of the committee who live in Rocky Hill to pay attention and write a letter with me to the federal authorities to have federal intervention, because they're going to need some expertise at the table to possibly even take over this rail line until it can manage its own affairs. Things are that bad. And yes, we can go out for bid in 2015. We've never done that before. It's time to take a look at that.
Mayor Bell, there's no question that our public rail service has suffered from the lack of vision
And part of the problem is that rail service is incredibly expensive to change the infrastructure. If you lived in Danbury, you may remember back in the 50s when we had electric trains that went from Danbury to Stamford. And we actually could have run shuttles in and out of Grand Central, but somebody decided somewhere in the 1950s to switch all the trains over to diesel. Now to go back to electric, which is what the rest of the system is on, it'll cost you probably $4 or $5 billion, so it's not practical. So vision and planning is one problem, and then there's the short-term problems that we mentioned here already. The crossing gate situation in Danbury is absolutely deplorable, and the chief and I were talking about this yesterday. We're concerned that somebody's going to get hurt, God forbid, on one of those crossing things. But it's an example of how Metro North has ignored the pleas of chief elected officials, of local elected officials, as well as state elected officials to up their game a little bit. And quickly, I just want to tell you, there's a template for a fix for this. Look what we did with CL&P. Look what we did with CL&P after the horrendous service that you all got there over the last 3 years. They wouldn't dare have a light bulb go out anymore. And we need to have that same kind of passion towards our rail service to protect our commuters.